Good morning. Sunday, April 11th. I'm here near the Wizard Falls Fish Hatchery on the Metolius River, which is behind me there. And I'm going to be doing a big loop today. Going to be going up the west side of the Metolius to Canyon Creek Trailhead, then road walk for 1.7 to the Metolius Wendigo Trail. Follow that and the Lake Creek Trail to Camp Sherman, and then come down the East Metolius Trail right back to here. So it should be around 15 miles. The first 2/3 of it will be pretty quiet, and the last part coming down might have some people. So I've got my mask ready just because there's going to be some trails that are busier than others, and I like to do that. So yeah, I've got a bigger than usual pack for like a day pack. Got a nice big lunch ready to have after 5 miles, and then at about 10 miles I get to Camp Sherman, and I can just go in the store there and get a snack or a beverage or whatever I want. So I'm planning on dividing the day up into thirds and taking long breaks in between those thirds to sort of mimic the kind of hiking I'll be doing out on the Colorado Trail this summer, which is what I'm out here doing, training for that. So yeah, it's about, well, right now it's cold, but it's supposed to be in the low to mid 50s and sunny. Clouds are breaking up, and it looks like it's going to be pretty nice. Let's get this thing started. Okay, for the first part of this loop, I'm going to be heading upstream on the West Metolius River Trail, and apparently it's 2.5 miles to Lower Canyon Creek Campground, and that's where my road walk will start. So I might see some people on this part. It is a Sunday, but it is pretty early. We'll see. If I see anyone, they're going to be going the other way, because it's more usual to start this hike on the other end of this trail and come down to Wizard Falls. But here we go. The clarity of the water here on the Metolius River is just amazing. You can see right through it. It looks like it's a river of Windex. Slightly blue color to it. Chugging along. Cold, cold, cold. One of the reasons it's so clear and so cold is that it's spring fed, not only from the source, but many of its tributaries up here are also spring fed, like Jack Creek, like parts of Canyon Creek, and like those bad boys over there. One of the most famous spots on the Metolius, where springs just come gushing out of the hillside. Something you don't see every day. Pretty cool. And there's probably other springs that are like below the water surface that we don't see that continue to feed the river, but just amazing. Continuing up to the Canyon Creek Trailhead. As beautiful as this is, I'm actually looking forward to getting away from the river in a little bit now that I'm approaching the Canyon Creek Trailhead, because it's freaking cold. The weather report I looked at last night said the low here was going to be 19 degrees. I'm not dressed for 19 degrees. So I've been hiking at a pretty fast clip just to keep myself warm. There's a really steep gradient between being in the sunshine and being in the shade. Plus, you're at the bottom of this canyon where the air is contacting this 40-degree water. So there's just this current of cold, moist air flowing down the canyon. And it's pretty uncomfortable. So now that I'm going to be doing the road walk away from the Metolius, it should warm up drastically and I'll be a little bit more comfortable. I'll be coming down the other side of the river in the afternoon and it should be quite a bit more comfortable then. Oh yeah, that sun feels good. Alright, here at Lower Canyon Creek Campground, where the trailhead is. And the location of the trailhead has changed considerably. It used to be, right down at the river, like 100 yards that way, with a turnaround just overlooking the water. Now they've moved it back to here, and there seems to be a trail heading west. I don't know how far it goes, but I'm going to follow this until I don't have to, because it's better than walking on the road. But this road is what I was planning to follow on the way out, the start of my 1.7 mile road walk. Okay, so maybe it's not an official trail heading this way, but it's followable. So if this parallels the road, I'm going to use it. Yeah, that trail didn't continue. It ended right after I filmed that last video. So it's just going from the farthest parking sites back to the trail. So I'm on this pleasant road. Canyon Creek is down there. If I'm really lucky, there might be like some fisherman's trail or something along that, but really when it gets down to it, walking this road isn't that bad. It's extraordinarily pleasant. It's a lot warmer than it was down by the river, like 10, 15 degrees easily. Probably gonna have to take off my hoodie pretty soon. And it's well graded, it's flat, it's not rocky. So these should be some pretty cruisy miles. Okay, reached the first turn in the road walk. This is road 1420, a paved road that goes down to Camp Sherman that way. And if you didn't hate road walking as much as I do, you could just follow that to Camp Sherman and cut several miles off this. But I'm not a big fan of it. So I'm gonna go this way. And then in maybe half a mile, I'm gonna be making a left on road 12. And then I should be crossing or meeting the Metolius Wendigo Trail not long after that. So this road walk totals 1.7, and I'm guessing I have about half of that done so far, if not more. So this should be over pretty soon. Got some nice pine needles to walk on, so as far as road walking goes, this isn't too okay. Part 2 of the road walk transition. I'm here on road 12 now. Just came up 1420. Transitioning onto a dirt road. This is one of the main roads that accesses all the Mount Jefferson trailhead, so it's pretty well used. I might see some traffic. I'm going left here towards the Sheep Springs Horse Camp. And I think I cross a creek or two, and when it gets to the crossing of Canyon Creek, that's where I pick up the Metolius Wendigo Trail, and my road walk will be over. Again, pretty short and pleasant. Totally worth it to make this loop possible. So right after you cross Brush Creek on this road, there's a pretty obvious trail with a no vehicle sign going to the left. And you might think, and it goes this way as well, you might think that that is the Metolius Wendigo Trail, but it is not. First of all, the Metolius Wendigo Trail is well signed, so every time I've seen a junction for it, there's been a sign that said what it was. It also has yellow diamond blazes on it, and again, pretty well marked with that. Also looked at the map I have on my phone, and the crossing of that trail is up here ahead a few hundred yards where you cross Canyon Creek. So stay on this road until after you cross Canyon Creek. All right, here at Canyon Creek, and just before the bridge on the right, you can see the Metolius Wendigo Trail heading away. You can see the yellow diamonds there. There's a couple on trees further down there. What it does is cross this bridge on the road, and then it makes a left on this next road towards the Redmond Saddle Club. and then peels off to the right. Yep, there's a yellow blaze. So I'm in the right neighborhood here. So I'm, I don't know, 3.5 miles in, and the road walk is now out of the way, and I have nothing but trail all the way back. Just gained a ridge here. Not really sure what it is. Sort of a separation between two creek valleys, maybe. And the trail's pretty good so far. It's definitely horsey. I mean, it's loose and sandy and kind of chunky instead of smooth, but that's right. It's easy to follow. It's getting me where I need to go. And it's going to wind its way around towards Jack Creek, and I think that's where I'll take my first of 2 breaks. Wow. Lots of hawks up circling in the thermals as the air warms up. Cool. But really couldn't be a more perfect day. And the scenery here is not as spellbinding as it is along the river, obviously. But I ain't gonna see anybody out here, so I don't need to have my mask ready to go on. I can just kind of hike in peace and get in some miles. And it looks like I'm not the only one hiking this, because there are other footprints on this trail. So other people have had this idea as well. Hiking on. Well, for the past couple of miles, I've been hiking through this section of, pleasant but fairly uninspiring forest. Logged multiple times, just second growth ponderosa. It's been treated with fire recently, so it's kind of scabby looking. But to my left here, there's a wall of thick, more original vegetation and the delicious sound of water. And I see the road up ahead. So I believe I'm getting close to where the trail joins the road to cross Jack Creek. And somewhat after that, I'm going to find a nice sunny spot on the trail to sit down and take my first break, a third of the way through the day. Still super pleasant. Haven't seen a soul. Yep, and Jack Creek is here. Delicious spring-fed creek. Very dependable water source. It's Road 12 heading back towards where I just came from. And here's the resumption of trail. And I'm just going to grab the first nice spot I see. As with all these creek crossings near a road, there's always great campsites. Like in there. And if it were a hot day, I would probably go in there and grab some shade. As it is though, I need some sunlight. So I'm gonna keep going here. Gotta figure out if I'm on the trail actually. There's a marker going that way. I don't see any markers, but there's this road. So I guess I'm supposed to assume that the road is the trail for now. If I don't see any markers in a sec, I'll take a look at the map and see what's going on. So I got wet shoes now. Got to First Creek a little while back, and First Creek did not have a viable bridge over it. Originally, most of these, or originally all of these creek crossings had both a horse crossing, which is just a little dirt ramp heading down to the river where the horse would wade across, and it also had a bridge for bikes and foot traffic. This trail doesn't get maintained really that much anymore. There's been a fair amount of blowdown, and blowdown that you can tell has been there for many years. So it's pretty infrequently maintained, including the maintenance of any bridges. So yeah, First Creek was a definite wet crossing. I didn't really make any search up or downstream to try to find a log across it or anything. I don't really have the patience for that. It's not that bad. I get to Davis Creek next. We'll see if that gets me wet or not. And then after that, I'll be getting close to Camp Sherman. Probably about 9 miles in so far. One of the things I like about this section, you hear that? Super loud woodpecker. Sounds like someone's playing a xylophone over there. The forest changes every couple of miles. And I think they do like varying land management techniques out here, sort of like as an experiment. I remember seeing signs about that driving around in here. So this section here is one of the prettiest. It's got this understory of this small manzanita-like stuff. I think it's called kinnikinnick. I'm not 100% positive about that. And a mix of Doug firs and larches. Those are the tall ones that look like they're dead, but they're deciduous and they just haven't sprung yet. And old growth ponderosa, lesser ponderosa. And it's obviously been logged in the past and treated with fire, but it's just a really pretty section here. And that woodpecker likes it too. Moving on towards Davis Creek. We'll see if this one's wet or dry. Pretty sure this is the road that goes to Camp Sherman that way. Not a lot of bends in the road out here. So I should be getting to a junction pretty soon, certainly within a mile, with the Lake Creek Trail where I'll go left down to there. And I'll have to break up my bandana because at some point during my travels today, I lost my mask. When I got off the more crowded trail I was on this morning and started the road walk, I put it in my pocket, which in retrospect was not a sound decision. Because these are just running shorts and the pockets aren't very deep and I wasn't paying attention and it's not like it's something you would feel fall out of your pocket. So somewhere there's a gross used mask laying on the trail. I'm sorry. So I'm going to have to bandana it when I get to Camp Sherman and go in there to get some snacks to tide me over for the remainder of the journey, which is about almost 2/3 done at this point. Onward. All right, just leaving the Camp Sherman store. Got some snackies. And I'm going to go find a sunny place by the beautiful river to enjoy it. According to my GPS program, I've done 10.8 so far, and I think I have 5 to the end, so this should be like 15 or 16 by the time I'm done. And it's pretty much all downhill, all scenic. So yeah, this is gonna be the right way to finish this hike. Not too bad. Found a pretty little spot to sit down in the sun and appreciate my surroundings. I'm at the campground that's just downstream from Camp Sherman. I forget what it's called. Probably just Camp Sherman Campground. And I'm on this little spot, this kind of little grassy bench, and I'm gonna do a little snacking here to get me through to the rest of the trail. That's all the water I have left, but I'm gonna filter some before I go, so I have 2 liters. That should be more than enough to get me to the end of the trail. And just take my time and enjoy it. Eerily quiet here for a Sunday. The campgrounds don't appear to have opened yet, and I haven't seen any fishermen. And I haven't passed any hikers since I left Camp Sherman. I've seen a couple on the other side, but it is a lot more dead than usual, which is kind of nice. on the section of the West Metolius Trail that leaves the river and goes around this private inn holding. There's a fancy lodge. Another one of those simple, pleasant forests. It's just nice to walk through. Still deserted. Shadows getting longer, not really sure what time it is. But I have about a mile more of this until I return to the river. And then I think 2.5 miles to get back to the car at Wizard Falls. Probably have done 12, 13 miles at this point. Still feel great. A little sleepy, but physically feel good. Started my descent back to the side of the river after a couple miles up on a dry bluff. It's down there about 200 feet below me. It's a deep little canyon. Not long to go now. Maybe an hour to the car, maybe a little more. Something like that. Just gliding along.